I'm not connected with this topic of electric vehicles. Maybe for last 1 year, have been the member for the EV at the National Committee, where the director had put me during that issue when it happened in the country. You must have known a lot of two-wheeler failures, a lot of fires. So in that case, there was a request from Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India. So somehow, I don't know, the director has nominated me to look into this. He thought there is something high voltage in that and some small fire or something. So initially, I agreed maybe one case. So there were 3 members who were actually nominated by the government to look into this. So one colleague was the additional director from CFIS, that is a Center for Fire Establishment at New Delhi, and other is from again the same organization. So 3 of us were there. We went to the first incident where it happened. So we were still there, the second one happened. Then we were still there, the third one happened. So then it was very difficult. We had to travel in 1 week. So to one place, again several places in the country without coming back. Then we requested we need to have some more people who are expert in this field, because we had not known the topic. And you know, all of you know that EV consists of, it is like a multidisciplinary topic where involves thermal, involves electrical engineering, involves the battery management, where chemical and many of these things. So from my side, yes, we co-opted Professor Umanand, the opening batsman here who gave the talk. So both of us worked together at the Energy Center. That was easy for me, and that is how it happened. I will just present what is it is not a case study, what is the things which have happened in the initial phase of the failures of two-wheelers and one case of four-wheelers, and what is that we have come up, and finally what is that we try to recommend to the government, and how the things happened, and now the standards or regulations have been framed. And I would like to mention this point, maybe I will forget. This is the first time. Many times we are dictated by the norms for the vehicles, like Euro norms, Euro 1, 2, 3, 4 and all. So this is the first time where once we made the standards, or the standards were made, when it reached the global, the community of the automobile related issues. So immediately there were a lot of trade people from Germany, people from Korea started and telling that you have made the standards in such a way, it is above the normal international standards. So there were a lot of discussions from the ministry and the industry, and also we need to look into mainly about the safety aspects of the people. It is not because of something. Then we were sticking to our point. In fact, out of that 8 to 10 members, so myself and Professor Umanand, we told if ministry wants to go ahead or try to neutralize few things, you can go ahead, otherwise no. Then it was so happened that the ministry officials came here. We need to inform them the importance of that. Finally, the amendment took place, and now we are trying to dictate to the other people. So that is the story, and I will present few things. Yeah, thanks. I will present whatever we have learned, few things, and I am not expert in this. I am just telling. Yeah, I know little bit. I have learned little bit of high voltage engineering. So any clarifications, yes, I would like to discuss about this. And Kaushik, thinking that I don't know much about the topic, he has made me a tail ender in this. So thinking that he will finish that within 25 minutes. But many times in the cricket, tail enders go for a longer period. Yeah, this some of you must have seen in the newspaper, some of you must in the media and all. It happened somewhere in April or March end 2022. Lot of EV failures at different locations in the country, and the reasons were unknown. Many times it was the standard vehicles which was not even being used, and there were sometimes the vehicle was moving, sometimes people were kept in the godowns. So several of these things happened. This incident happened in Nasik, where 28 vehicles simply got fire. They were loaded into the truck and they were wanted to move to the Bangalore for some of the testings. And several of other cases happened across the country. And based on that, I was telling this 3-member committee later on, the 5-member committee at the national level was made to look into the issues related to that and give the recommendation to the government of India. Yeah. So anyhow, that was the story which happened in the parliament. Lot of hangama happened, and Nitin Gadkari ji told that the committee, 3-member committee was there. I thought he was mentioning about Indian Institute of Science. That is where I just wanted to show that. These are a few of the things when we went across the country where exactly it happened. All the things were frozen by the ministry, and we need to look into the first-hand information of what has happened at that instant. We had told all the manufacturers not to disturb, and where exactly it happened, we had to go there, and we needed to collect few of the things. The actual, it is not like a forensic thing which we didn't have any information. We need to look into the first-hand information, what has happened, collect the samples, do some evaluation. So again, evaluation at IAC, we had some facilities where we could do with the help of other departments, colleagues from other departments. And also at the NSTL Visakhapatnam, there is a facility where they do have a facility for conducting for the submarines, so electric testing for batteries, lithium ion, many of these things they are doing. So we try to get some of these things there and try to corroborate the results which we tried to get into that, and then gave it to the minister. This is how it happened. So these are some of the things which the failures happened. You could see the lithium ion cell completely blasted in that case. Most of you know how many cells are there in a two-wheeler. Anybody can tell? There are from manufacturers also. In a two-wheeler EV, there is a battery pack, right, which drives your two-wheeler. Any idea how many cells of this nature, or is it a single battery like your normal battery, or is there any idea? So there will be somewhere around 220 to 250 or 260 for a two-wheeler. So for a for a car, it will be much more. So this is one of the incident which happened. Unfortunate, the 2 people lost lives, and this is the observations which we went immediately. The next day we were there at that place, and the vehicle completely, the house was very small. The person had kept it charging at the entrance, and they were sleeping inside. In the night it happened, and the smoke went, and finally the fire, and 2 lives were completely gone. So that is a very heartening thing which we saw. This other one is, this is how it looks, the normal battery pack of one of the two-wheeler. It is not that all the two-wheelers will have a similar type. One of the two-wheeler has this type. You can see after the fire has happened, how it has made the entire vehicle to completely blow off. This is again the battery pack which you generally see in some of the two-wheelers again. So where all these batteries, both in series and parallel combinations, are being made into this box, and the box is right below your seat. So many of the manufacturers again here they have tried to allow to remove that box. You can still take it to your bedroom and charge it. No, it's not like the same thing happened in one of the case in Hyderabad, near to Hyderabad. The guy who purchased the vehicle, it was a 2-floor. The ground floor the vehicle was kept. He took the battery pack, kept it at the first floor for charging. In the night, the grandfather and his son who were sleeping there, next day morning, again this incident happened. I think you must have read in papers. Very unfortunate. So this is one of the battery pack, how this was shattered. Again, this I was telling, the vehicles were simply loaded, no charging, not a use, it's a brand new vehicles. And all the 28 vehicles were gutted, and this is the thing where you can see the vehicles which were kept when we went for observations. Similarly, this is one of the case again where it happened in southernmost part of the country. Again, how this is the typical battery. You can see how the vehicle has moved. It is completely not a skeleton. It is much completely destroyed the entire vehicle. So this was one of the case. Some investigations I pointed out, again we were fully in confused what to do. We did not know. The ministry had simply given to ask us to send the report. We were unaware of that. We didn't, the people from defense, they were experts in the fire related issues. I was knowing little bit about high voltage engineering. They are involved a lot of chemistry, a lot of thermal management, a lot of BMC, a lot of all these things. We had to look into that. We took the help of other colleagues, and we tried to see how this could be analyzed. That is where at IAC also we tried to look into some of the analysis, micro level or nano level, the failures of the cell, the batteries, and how it has happened, what could be the reasons, all these things we tried to understand. And similarly, we had evaluated for the BMS also, the battery management system. Many of the time you have a beautiful, what you call the BMS, which indicates your information about the vehicle. It is supposed to indicate what is the temperature, what is the healthiness of the cell, what is that. So many of the time it is not which is connected there. So that we also saw that there are also issues related to the BMS which the information was not passed and the vehicle was not able to see that it should not start if there is any issue. That was not happening. And at Visakhapatnam we had a lab where we tried to go in for some evaluation of the cell, the battery pack of each of the individual fire incidents which have happened. So that again gave us a lot of information about how to see that the reasons could be collected and presented. So again these are for type 2 batteries. I told you 4 to 5 incidents which happened. We had to, this is type 3 in the sense the third company, I don't want to name the companies. So this is the third type of battery arrangements which everybody has his own style and own design which he makes the battery pack. There is no rules, regulations which are followed internationally. Some guy uses 108, some guy 200, 220. So whatever output he wants, they are trying to make it and they are collecting it and sells sometimes Taiwan, China, Korea, wherever they want. So sometimes mixing up, sometimes they don't want to take care of each cell has some IR or something. Nobody is bothered about that. They think everything is like that, but technology itself is new. So a lot of issues happened during that period of time. And this is where each of the person who were doing, there were no proper regulations for the battery making and battery pack making basically. So several of these tests we try to get it done at here and also at Visakhapatnam. We try to see each and every things related to the international standards, whether it is being followed or it is being able to look into those aspects. So here again, many of the cases, the temperature sensors, there were no indication of the temperature sensors at all in the battery pack. The battery was simply arranged and it was closed and the leads were connected. So what is happening inside? Nobody knows. And what happens in case there are both series and parallel combinations? So again, what is the chemical reactions which are taking? No information to the BMS which is happening. So some of the cases, as in only one case there was information at some locations, not at all the locations. In many of the cases there were no information from the thermal management side which is being indicated to the rider or to the system. So this we have tried to look into this and some preliminary findings. Initially it was not a full-fledged complete investigations. So what we saw was the main reason for the failures which we have encountered during that period was from the cell and the battery pack. So and the malfunctioning of cell or the battery pack arrangement is one of the primary reasons what we felt, and this could be the probable due to the internal or thermal runaway which has happened, because most of the battery packs were completely sealed conditions. And this was also evident by our investigations. Many of the time the battery pack, when we tried to open, or the information which we saw, many of the lithium ion cells were completely like what we call, it was opened up at some locations and fewer of course intact. And this is how again we need to take the support from ARIA, that is ARIA is Automotive Research Association of India. These are the people who take care of all the automobile related testing, evaluation and so there again we had to send few of the samples. We visited the ARI and tried to discuss with those people and also try to get some information for various evaluations which we had collected there. And we tried to figure it out, some of the root causes, what could be the reasons for this. Yes, we came out because of the observations and because of several times visits and also getting the samples. We saw that there were inferior quality of the cells which were used by the manufacturers. I don't want to say, because many of the time from where they are importing, it is not told, there was no log information, and whatever was available, it was not done in a proper way. Some people had a very nice manufacturing units. The people who are doing this, they were not told about the lithium ion and how to make arrangements. So they were simply given, yes, IR anywhere. When the sorting of the cells were done, it could be ranging from 1.9 to 2.6. No, nothing problem. 1.9 to 2.6 is, but for an electrical engineers, you know, when particularly when it is connected in parallel combination, what could be the issue, and even a smaller imbalances of the parallel combination, the circulating currents which are being formed. So those creating temperature high and the thermal runaway could happen, or a venting could happen, smoke, or finally blast. So there are several reasons, and many of the times we have seen there were BMS, just for namesake there was a BMS, no connectivity, no information from the battery to the BMS. Like it could be a thermal, it could be many of these things. There was no information, simply it was there. And in few cases, there were thermocouples just kept there, so batteries were somewhere, and they said yes, thermocouple is there. So I don't know whether the thermocouple, like a wireless mode, it should take and give the information. So that also was not happening. So several of these things we tried to look carefully, and it was clear, see, people have taken it for a ride. The government had permitted more than 330 people in the country to start EVs, two-wheeler EVs. So Tom, Dick and Harry, and so some other names, I cannot name all the 330. So everybody started manufacturing. Many of the people who did not know about this EV, who did not know about electrical engineering, who did not know about mechanical engineering. Some people, I would like to mention, he was running a cloth shop. So he started because he had money and getting a lot of, concessions from the government. So in that way, everybody who had something, they started, and they followed, thinking that everything will be normal. So this, when it happened, the government also was serious. We tried to inform where the things went wrong and why it was permitted without some of this. So this was a really lot of learnings for us also. It is not that we knew few of the things. Yes, there were many cases where in case the temperature goes up or the circulating currents are increasing. Normally in our home, when we are using a 5 amps or a 15 amps, immediately at more than 15 amps, the fuse is there, or an MCB, what we call miniature circuit breaker, is available. Here nothing is there. So any amount of circulating current, you become whatever you have, vent, you blast, nothing was there, no information. So that was the absence of a fuse or MCB or some protection to see that it is cut off from the reactions which are happening. These things were not there. These are few of the things which we tried to see. Later on, we gave the preliminary set of recommendations to the government, both from DRDO labs and from IISc side. So DRDO labs came up with some of the recommendations. So they did a lot of testings, and they came up with several of these recommendations to the government. And from IISc, myself and I was mentioning my colleague Professor Umanand, who were involved here, and we also looked into several of these aspects. What could be the cause of thermal runaway? What was the reasons for, in particularly when the cells are in series and parallel, what could be the reasons where it is happening, and how this could be countered. So there were no information or no protection schemes at the instant which was available. So we try to look into that aspect and try to come up with some solution which is being carried out, and that particularly initially there were a lot of discussions, and other committee members also felt whether it will really work. So we have tried to demonstrate, and finally we need to convince from the ministry side. So the ministry, the Gadkari ji was very, in fact I should be thankful. I was given a 15 minutes talk at the Taj West End when the Manthan program happened on the failures and other aspects on the EV aspect. So when I told the manufacturers tell some story, academicians tell some story, to take a decision there are these bureaucrats. If they don't know any of these things, it will be very difficult to take a decision, because finally they are making the policies, they are doing it. So I don't know, he was not hearing, he was somewhere with all these people, but immediately after that, within 3 days, I got a call from his secretary level, please arrange a workshop for our own team. So immediately we tried to arrange a workshop for their top officials, and we tried to tell them what could be the reason and what are the things which we are trying to do it, particularly for making some active paralleling circuit in case, because most of the batteries are kept both in a series and parallel mode. So how to come out in case there are issues with the parallel, active paralleling things. So they were happy here to be here for 1 week. We tried to see that, and that is how they were also confident, and it went further. So this lot of series parallel combination, and we try to give a suggestion to adopt particularly the active series and paralleling, which will help to see the protection is there, and that particular cell which is bad cell can be eliminated from the battery pack which is connected in parallel. That was our intention. And there also we pointed out we need to consider the manufacturers, the experts in this area, and also the people who are knowing about this in all fields. It could be a chemical engineering, it could be mechanical, it could be electrical, it could be power electronics, because a lot of things are involved. It is not that decision is being taken at 1 or 2 persons who are involved in this. So that is where the government was very serious, and they formed a larger committee for the making of the national standards. There were representatives from few of the IITs, and there were from other people who are working in this area. It could be ARI and many of these things. That is where the standards have been devised. So both AI 38 and AI 156, which are connected with the battery management for two-wheeler and four-wheeler, we tried to send the recommendations, and these recommendations were incorporated. And I would like to say everything happened in 28 days. The gadget from the ministry, 28 days the recommendations were happened, and after that this EU people try to see that there is a trade regulations and your standards are much higher, your protection levels are much higher and all. So we try to mention and see that how we could have convinced them. So that is where the story went on. So further, after that there were also problems not only for two-wheeler. This was the report which we submitted to the Ministry of Road Transport Corporation, particularly for two-wheeler. Immediately there was one failure of four-wheeler. So again we had to look into the problems there. This is the four-wheeler which happened, and many of the times you people don't know you are driving. Below you is the big, the battery which is there. So both of you are sitting in the front. So battery, you are sitting on the battery pack basically. It is not that battery pack is somewhere there. So many of these things like the vehicle height also matters in case there is a damage mechanically, in case there are a lot of issues which it has been observed, and those observations we try to mention to the ministry and how this could be done. And a lot of information also we try to get from the BMS. This is how the vehicle, one of the vehicle which was damaged because of the incident. And again we sent some recommendations particularly for this four-wheeler again, and this was again the committee, and a lot of news after that. The reports were submitted. You must have seen this in the news mentioning that the panel suggests big lapses in two-wheeler or four-wheeler. Then a lot of two-wheeler manufacturers started telling no, these are difficult to install at our companies, and the ARI or the people who are about to testing, they were also not tuned to these things. So we tried to give them some time. So up to November 2022, out of the 16 regulations, 8 were asked to be followed during November, and from March the other ones. So this is how the government also tried to make the regulations and come up. So further, for the entire standardization, a second committee was made where we were, Professor Umanand and myself also were involved in this. Here again, this was to look mainly about the protection and safety aspects for the two-wheeler and also the four-wheelers. And there were a lot of recommendations from the committee members studying into various international standards, and finally we tried to recommend this. And this is where we had, once the standards were framed, there were a lot of both for AI 156 and 38, we had made several of the tests or evaluations to be done which are not available presently. And this was the report which was submitted to the committee. And further, then there were a lot of issues from Germany, and a team from Korea visited, and they were telling your standards are higher than the normal standards which are being followed, so you need to bring it down. Or so that is where we were not comfortable, and particularly Professor Umanand and me in that committee, some of our members were a little bit, yes, we will try to, but we were very clear in that. We wrote a mentioning the details why it should not be done to the ministry, and in fact the ministry also were happy to see our recommendations, and they did not budge to that. And finally, this is one of the small information which I thought. This presently we have filed a patent for the active paralleling aspects. So mainly to look into the issues related to the circulating currents and see how the charge equalization could be done in case of parallel of the circuits, and to prevent the thermal runaway, and also see how the melting of the cells or could not take. These are few of the things. Recently we have filed a patent. Not much of discussion can happen because still it is under progress. So this was the ministry delegations which who are the people actually taking the decisions. They came here. So for 1 week we had a workshop for them, try to get the experts from various fields and also the field visits, and they were convinced. So this is the story which I just thought of presenting. I don't know, I would have exceeded my time.
Sir, apart from these, are there any additional regulations that manufacturer or a designer needs to comply with?
Yeah, see, first of all, I would like to make it clear, I am not the member of AI 38 and 156. I was a part of the committee where we tried to see that both the standards were amended with our recommendations. So here again it involves both the thermal, it involves electrical related, it involves the safety aspects. Yes, we had given the recommendation. Initially manufacturers had some issues. We tried to talk to them, we tried to inform them, and now all the things are in place. The amendment has happened in November 2022. It is available on the web also.
Sir, like my question is, like how do we validate what the manufacturer is doing? Like whether it is implemented
No,
or
yes, correct. That is the reason for them also we have given the recommendations. So what are the things to be kept? Like it could be importing of a cell, simple cell. So when is that? We see there was no information about the cell, from which lot and how it is being mixed up, which is the battery pack. Now there was no traceability. Now we have told to be a traceability, like even the vehicle fire somewhere. So immediately after the battery pack, if you are able to get even a single cell, we should be able to see and connect where it was, from which lot. So those things have been also recommended.
In that fire incident where the whole bunch of scooters were burnt, so how are you able to identify which is the probably only one scooter caught fire or many caught fire? So how are you able to identify?
No, that's what I told. I'm not an astrologer also to find out where happened. So we were only told after all the 28 were burnt in that lot. So once we went, yes, we were only that like how it could have happened. So what would be the reason? They had charged the vehicles and they had put it so to the maximum. In fact, they had not been using, it's a branded new vehicle. They charged the fully batteries there. So there could be a lot of issues which could come up. The failures happened during that period of time. We had to understand the reasons there. Yes, when we looked into the failure, some of the vehicle, the battery pack was okay. There were not that all the 28 were completely gutted. There were only 3 or 4 vehicles which the battery pack and the batteries were completely gutted, and other things, the effect of that, because all were in cascade there. So that is one of the reason where the failures happened. And for that again we suggested what could be the reasons from our side also.
Okay. Did the study also indicate to the government and the manufacturers whether there needs to be enforcement of cooling systems for the batteries?
Yes, you are right. So that was one of the primary thing also which we found out. There were no cooling system. Many of the times I told they have put in that rectangular box, all the things were dumped and that was closed. So there was no cooling system, no thermal management, no indication of temperature, nothing was there. So that was the thing which we also proposed. And during this period of 28 or 30 days, every day, evening from 6 to 7, we used to have a direct meeting with the manufacturers and the ministry, online meeting 6 to 8, every day. So all the things were also taken into consideration, both manufacturers and also the ministry level.
So one last question about the Nexon EV fire. What was the reason for the fire?
See, that is again, I did not want to show, but somehow it happened. Yes, it is again what we felt. It is because of the parallel combination of the things, which lot of battery, more than 600 cells are there, series and parallel combination. And the second one what we saw was a little bit of mechanical damage which below the battery pack which was there. So that was not seen when we were closely saw that the metal thing was completely like lifted to that area. So that also could have aggravated the situation. There were some 8 to 10 reasons we tried to.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a question regarding why is there no standardization by the government, sir? Like for the charging, why is there not a standardized charging levels?
Yeah, that is also being looked into. That now I told many people have various ways of using the charging. And one of the fire incident case we saw, the guy did not have a 3-pin plug. So he simply cut that and inserted and he started charging. So yes, we have also looked into that and we have tried to.
So it was funny that, about the cloth merchant starting a battery manufacturing company or other battery pack or whatever, right? But what was not funny and rather scary was deep pocket manufacturers like Tata and Ola. They, who have access to best of the resources in the country, but still not able to fix this. Now, as part of this study...
No, it is not intentional. See, what we have seen is most of the companies, they have been doing their job. I am just giving that sometimes there could be not an ignorance at all. It is a newer technology which is being adopted. There are a lot of issues, what I told. It is not only the electrical, not only the mechanical, not only the chemical, not only... Many of them do not understand the battery technology itself. So there were several of these issues. It is not an intentional thing. Yes, many of the manufacturers have tried to incorporate the newer things and now they are aware. See, initially when the industry came up, yes, there were some issues.
Yeah, so, but then after that, what I understand now is still the things are on a recommendation basis, right? People are expected to follow it voluntarily. Yeah. right? So I wonder if there is no certification of sort, like, for these battery manufacturers, where, random sampling validation.
No, that is being followed. Yes, earlier it was not in a normal procedure. Yes, the recommendations by the committees have made, and they will have to follow the normal procedures and trying to collect samples.
So
and,
any organization that does the certification of these batteries?
Yeah, there are two organizations in the country. One is at Pune ARAI and one is ICAT at Delhi.
I
So
see.
these are the two people who are authorized for the vehicular testing. They did not have initially some of the facilities, so they are trying to come up with the newer facilities which are required, and they are trying to.
Even for batteries?
Yes,
is it?
everything,
Okay.
everything.
Thank you, sir.